You've seen the headlines. What is going on? 52,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. Why is nobody talking about it? Why indeed?
We must seize the moment of truth, baby.
I'm going to give you some of my thoughts here at 180 Truth. Family, welcome back to 180 Truth.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I think you can handle the truth. Welcome to 180 Truth. And I just wanted to talk about this issue that I'm sure by now you have heard of. If you haven't, well, I'm here to tell you. There's been nothing short of an attempt of just genocide in Nigeria. Some people are going to argue against that. Some people are going to say that there are certain political factions that are trying to actually sensationalize it. I will say that there have been meetings right now happening in Nigeria to address this issue because of now the global attention being brought to it. And so your voice, our voices do make a difference. We want to make a difference in the lives of our brothers and sisters everywhere, especially if you claim to be a Christian. And so I want to talk about the reasons why we are ignoring this news. But first, let's listen in to Sky News highlighted Bill Maher highlighting exactly some critical comments about how the news has, how the media, the traditional media, has been ignoring this horror.
Joining us now is Bernard Tutunji, National Director of Aid to the Church in Need in Australia and New Zealand. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Can we just start off by listening to what Bill Maher had to say?
I mean, the fact that this issue has not gotten on people's radar,
Right, no one's talking about it.
it's pretty amazing. If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. And again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country.
Wow.
Where are the kids protesting this?
Where are the ones protesting this and why? And again, there are those that are going to say actually that, especially when you listen, if you're a fan of Al Jazeera News and you don't realize who really sponsors them, you will forget actually what's really happening. Well, there's somebody who I know that I really enjoy listening to his content, a Nigerian perspective with Frank Stephen. I would encourage you to just go ahead, listen in on his content. He has two videos here, Global Intifada and Al Jazeera Lies Again, in regards to what is happening in Nigeria. But I wanted to really focus on a couple of things in regards to why it is that we are ignoring this news of this horror. Well, firstly, right off the bat, it clashes with the Western narrative, where the minute, and this happened on September 11th, where we had terrorist attackers, and then suddenly everyone felt compelled to keep stressing, Islam is a religion of peace, Islam is a religion of peace, Islam is a religion of peace, over and over again, because they were afraid of the rise of Islamophobia. They wanted us to make a distinction between the regular Arab and Muslim on the street and everyone else. It's interesting that now that all these people are angry at Israel, there are people not able to do that. Every Jew now is a problem, and there's all this conspiracy theories. So there is something about human nature where we have this propensity to go on ahead and start blaming and start hating and projecting our anger. And there's truth. But let's be honest, okay? Let us be honest about the reality of how much of the Islamic world is bent on destroying the West, and certainly here in Nigeria and other parts of the African continent, they are bent. We can say they're fundamentalist forces, we can say they're radical forces, however you want to frame it. We're not talking about it because we're afraid, and I'm not afraid. We're being called Islamophobic. You're afraid of Islam, you're afraid of Muslims. But we have to be honest, family. As a Christian, I want to see the faith spread. As a Christian, I believe that spreading is through sharing, caring, love, truth. I certainly am not a pacifist Christian, but I don't believe in conquering. I certainly will say that Christians have a heritage that's very mixed, like everybody in the Bible. Good, bad, ugly. But Islam as well is a missionary religion, and they want to take over the world. The question is how? And there is a large portion that is bent on violence, and they're bent on deceit. They're doing whatever it takes, and even taking advantage of Western sensibilities, taking advantage of naivete, taking advantage of all kinds of stuff, including white guilt, taking advantage of the liberal mindset. Family, at the end of the day, that's one of the main reasons why this story has been ignored. Two, Christianity equals whiteness. So in the Western world, Christianity equals whiteness. There are so many people who still don't know where Africa started and where Africa spread. They don't understand the legacy of Africa on the African continent. Some of the early church fathers being of African descent, being Nubian. There is this continued ongoing people trying to be convinced, especially now with the current administration, President Trump, and there's all this, oh, we got to be careful of Christian nationalism, and Christian nationalism is associated with white supremacy, and so Christianity is associated with whiteness, it's associated with the oppressor, it's associated with the man, and so so people can't picture in their minds, oh, well, Christians are not all white. Oh, Christians are suffering around the world. White Christians and Asian Christians and African Christians, whatever. Listen, at the end of the day, that's the number two reason why this news is ignored. Another reason why this news is ignored is because, let's be honest, United States of America, as a nation, we're very centrist. There's something about our geography. We have two oceans on either side. The United States has always often had weak neighbors to the north, to the south. And so there is also a heritage, even among Christians, of racism. And so Christians, there are segments among Christians who don't really care about people of color in other parts of the world. They don't care. And so they say they're Christian, but there is a kind of apathy or indifference to those folks. I also think that in general, there is an emphasis on what's happening now. And so we pay attention to what's happening now and what's happening local. And the United States of America has really struggle with even caring about the rest of the world. That's history. That's part of the U.S. history. And there are even founding fathers that have said, listen, stay out of the UK. And then some people just take that and say, just stay out the rest of the world. Don't pay attention. And should the United States be a police force? Well, again, depends on who you ask, depends on the day of the week, and sometimes it depends on the color of the skin of the person who's in trouble on the other side. Finally, the narrative of it's complicated. And that is what's always said. It's complicated. We don't fully understand everything. Family, since 2009, 52,000 Christians. That's grieving. That should grieve us. And that should cause us to repent for our indifference, for our apathy, but also for believing people that are telling us to just ignore what's happening to our brothers and sisters across the seas. Now, some of you may say, well, what am I supposed to do about it? Let's talk about it here. Let's take a look at that relevant article that I originally introduced you to. So when we take a look at this article here, again, I will provide the link at the bottom, and so that you can also take a look at in the description. I'll provide a link in the description. But let's take a look at what they recommend and what we can do. Again, for believers outside Nigeria, the crisis can feel overwhelming, but there are tangible ways to help. Several Christian NGOs are working on the ground to provide aid, advocate for the persecuted, and support displaced families. They are seeking volunteers and financial assistance to continue to serve persecuted believers in Nigeria. Number one, equipping the persecuted provides medical aid, food, and spiritual support to victims. They aim to respond after an attack within 24 hours. Open Doors works with local churches in Nigeria to provide emergency relief, trauma, counseling, and advocacy for persecuted Christians. Number three, International Christian Concern supports victims of religious violence with aid, legal advocacy, and rebuilding efforts. Voice of the Martyrs partners with local believers to deliver food, Bibles, and medical care to displaced Christians. Global Christian Relief provides humanitarian support and raises global awareness about persecution in Nigeria. Prayers and awareness matter, but so does action. By supporting these organizations, believers around the world can stand with Nigerian Christians facing daily threats, reminding them that they are not forgotten. In fact, one of the things you can do is go to the websites, the social media websites of these organizations, and you can share the stories of the persecuted. And get ready, Because in some of these organizations like Voice of the Martyrs, Open Doors, they're also going to break it down to you about the ways in which Christians are persecuted and where they are persecuted most heavily around the world.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Family, thank you for being here at 180 Truth. I just wanted to just share my heart because it is grieving. I know we can be overwhelmed. A lot of us are desensitized with all the violence and all the information. Remember the warning of Jesus that because iniquity abounds, the love of many will grow cold. So be intentional in practicing love. Be intentional in living in grace and truth. And remember, you've been empowered as a warrior in prayer, but also with these next steps, you can make a difference in the life of others. Thank you for watching here at 180 Truth. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the near future. God bless.